We start 27a of Zion. Beginning of the second parak. Hasheichet echad ba'oif v'shnayim bebehema. Shchitas ikshera. Someone that shechs one siman on a bird. One siman means one of the pipes. The windpipe of the food pipe, the kana devation. So he shechs one of them on the bird, and if he shechs two of them on the animal, the shechita is kosher. The Gemara is going to ask, what are you supposed to do, especially on the animal? It sounds like b'di'evid it's kosher. V'rubei shalachad kamayu, and the majority of one of them is like you shechted it. The majority is like you shechted it. The Achrayim make a big deal when you say rubai kekulai. Is it considered that it's as if you shechted the whole thing, or roiv is enough? I don't know what the nafkamina is, but Rabbi Yehuda says ad sheyishchid esavridin. Rabbi Yehuda says you also have to shecht the veins, the arteries. It's machlekes which one it's referring to. It's referring to the veins on either side of the pipes, or if it's referring to the artery that's closer. You know what? Do they make a comment there on what the vridim are?
Oh.
They give you a location or a name.
Rashi says main blood vessels of the neck. Or to other opinion, it's a jugular vein.
Okay. Now, Taisus points out that this is not a halacha in Hilchas Shchita. This is a halacha in Hilchas Malicha. Why? Because the Shchita is just the simanim. He says it's only referring to a bird, as the Gemara is going to explain. Because a bird is common to be roasted whole, and the blood won't drain out of it if you roast it whole. An animal you're always going to cut into pieces. You're not going to roast it like that. You're going to cut it up before it's roasted. But a bird could be, you'll put it right on the fire, just like that. You take the feathers off and put it right on. So therefore all the blood's going to be caught inside the arteries. So it needs to be cut to allow the blood to flow out. What happens according to Rabbi Yehuda if the person didn't cut? So Taisva says that b'di'evid it's mutter. He didn't cut the arteries. Amen. The Ran.
He just cut the pipes.
He just cut the pipes. He didn't cut the vein.
Not the veins.
Right. The Taisva says even according to Rabbi Yehuda that says ad sheyishchad esavridin b'di'evid it's valid. The Ran argues on Taisvus. The Ran says that look at the Mishnah. We're talking about b'di'evid. Ad sheyishchad esavridin, until he cuts. It's not kosher until he cuts the veins. So it's asur even b'di'evid. The Rambam doesn't mention this at all. And so there was Rosh Hashiva in Tervadas, Reb Moshe Rosen. He wrote Svarim on Kodshim. Nezer HaKodesh it's called. Going back to the 30s. He says that the reason why the Rambam doesn't quote this, that you have to cut the veins, is because the Rambam learns like Taisvus, that it's kosher b'di'evid. So what's Rabbi Yehuda saying? L'chatchila you have to cut the veins. You're supposed to cut the veins, but if you didn't, it's kosher. What do the Rabbanan hold? The Rabbanan hold that even l'chatchila you don't have to cut the veins. So the Rambam, what he's doing is he's passing like Taisvus according to the Rabbanan, that there's no din even l'chatchila to cut the veins. Okay. Chatzi yachad ba'if. If someone shechs half a pipe by the bird, v'yachad v'chatzi bebehema, shchitasi psula. 1.5 by an animal, the shchita is pasul. Now, there's a chiddush here, as Taisus mentions. The chiddush is that even though you have the majority of both together, because you have 1.5, but because you don't have the majority of each one, that's not good enough. right? It could be the majority of each one. 75% it would be 1.5. But it could be also that it's 1.5, which you don't have the majority of the second one. So that's not valid. If you have the majority of one pipe by the bird, and you have the majority of two pipes cut by the animal, the shechita is kosher. And the Gemara is going to ask that we already said that. That was the second line of the Mishnah. And we repeated it again. Okay. We would be familiar with the concept of rubai kekulei, that you need to have kulei in order to have rubai. We don't say, we had this once before, we don't say that if you have the majority of a Sanhedrin, that's good enough. You need to have the whole Sanhedrin and then you follow the majority. We don't say that if you have 6 people for a minyan, that's good enough. You need to have the whole minyan and then majority of it is good enough. So it's rubai mitaych kulei. You have to have all of them and then you can have the majority. So that's how it works. Hasheichet. The Mishnah started off saying Hasheichet. Hasheichet sounds like if he shechted. It means that he wasn't supposed to do that. So that's only b'di'evet. L'chatchila. No, that's not. This is not good. So the Gemara asks, Shnayim b'mehema l'chatchila loy. You're cutting both pipes by the animal. That's l'chatchila not. Ad kamalush chutz. What are you supposed to cut? You cut all the pipes. So iba yasema, if you want, I could say, I echad ba'oif. It's not talking about the shnayim b'behema, the b'di'evet. The b'di'evet is talking about the one by the bird. Rashi says, what were you supposed to do l'chatchila? So you're supposed to cut both. Why? Because the Rabbanan made a gzeira that you might not cut one, or you might not cut the majority of one. So they said l'chatchila you should cut both. And that way you'll avoid cutting less than the majority of one. But if you cut one, so that was the Yikr Din.
So why does it have to say Shnayim Rebbeinu? If they came to teach,
right?
Why does
Yeah. So it's telling me the halachas of how much is supposed to be cut. The question is, why does it say it b'di'evet? So because the din by the oif is a din b'di'evet. So when it tells me, it didn't switch it when it starts talking about that was the way it was phrased because of the. Okay.
If it was said l'chatchila, what lashon would it use? To understand.
Yeah, it would say, like it says, the hakol sheichten. It would say sheichten echad ba'if v'shnayim b'behema. V'rubai Hasheichet means if he shechted. Right. Okay, so that's our first answer. Our first answer is that there's a gzeira derabanan that you should really shecht both, but if you didn't come.
Ooh, mazel tov.
Oh wow, very nice.
Give me, I'll get you a chair.
I couldn't sleep, I came.
Yeah, sit here.
No, where else?
Okay,
Where else
sure.
are you going to come to?
Right.
Sit here.
Really?
Pass this around.
To lose Zayda.
Yeah. The Rashash points out that Rashi's gzeira, you didn't have to learn like Rashi. You could have learned it a little different. Rashi says that you shechted one by the bird, and the Rabbanan said that you should shech two just in case you don't shech the majority of one. Rashash says we could have made a gzeira the bird atu behema, that we don't differentiate between an animal and a bird. That would have been a gzeira that we would be familiar with also. Oif atu behema would have sounded like a logical gzeira, that we want to make all the halachas equal. The Iba Yasema, we have another shot of why it's a din b'di'evet. Iba Yasema arubei shalechad kamayu. That is really talking about the second case. It's really talking about the when it says that roiv is good, that's what it's referring to. That's the b'di'evet. Really, you should cut the whole thing, the whole pipe, or both pipes, and The Rabbi is good. What comes out? What's a nafkamina here? Nafkamina is, according to the first Ibayasema, l'chatchila you're supposed to cut both. According to the second Ibayasema, l'chatchila you only have to cut one. It's a big nafkamina. So the Rosh says that we're machmir to cut both. To cut both because of that other, because of the first lishna. Okay, that's the sheikhim. Kamash simin. This is a simin for the names of the following Miraim. Amar Rav Kana. Rav Kana says, "Minayin l'shchita shimin atzavar." How do you know that shchita is by the neck? Shenemar v'shachar ben abakar. It says by the karbonoila. It says that he shechts the ben abakar, shechts the cattle. And we take the word v'shachat and we divide it into two, and we use the middle letter twice. Mimakim sheshach, the place that it bends, chateyu. Shach chateyu. The place that it bends, that's where you chateyu. Rashi has two interpretations. Either it means you make it kosher, you like purify it to be able to eat it, or chateyu means nakehu. Chateyu means cleanse it from the blood.
What is this limud called? What is it? What kind of limud is it?
I don't know. I don't know what it goes under.
It's a very
Beautiful,
but very.
I mean, we would call it nutrikon, that you take like the letters and you divide it up into words. I'm sorry? So you're saying it's not a real limud?
What is it?
He says it's a remez, but the Gemara's learning it as this is a source.
From a pasuk, yeah.
Why? We use notrikon in the Torah for codes, for secret.
Yeah, for sure. But
yeah.
We're talking about halacha.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell me the halacha. So what? Usually we say we have 13. Are you comfortable?
Yeah,
this is more.
Comfortable. Very.
Let's say there's 13. Rabbi Shmuel says there's 13 ways of learning. He's asking which one would it.
That's Jewish.
Right?
That's Jewish.
Yeah. That's what we call Jewish. Very good. The Gemara asks me, "My dahai chateu lishna de dechuyehu." How do you know that chateu means to cleanse? Rashi says, according to the other girsa, it would be lishna dach shurihu. There's a different girsa. Okay, Rashi changes the girsa, not always because of manuscripts, also because of what would fit in. That's what the scholars say. So, but how do we know that this is what it means? That this is what it means. The ksiv v'chiti has a bias. In the Mitzayra, it says that he has to cleanse his house. So it says v'chiti. The word v'chiti means to cleanse, to purify. V'bayisema mehacha. If you want, I could say there's another pasuk in Tilim. Techatena be'eza ve'etar. Purify me with the hyssop, and I'll be cleansed. So it means to purify or to cleanse. That's our source. The Gemara asks, okay, so you're learning from v'shachat, because the place where it bends, that's where it's cleansed. So the place where it bends is the neck. Where does the animal bend? It bends its neck. And that's where it's cleansed. That's where it becomes valid to be eaten. That becomes acceptable. Ve'imam is navai. Maybe it means from the tail. The tail is also bent. The Gemara says, shach mechlal shezakuf binan. It has to bend. That means that originally it's straight. V'ha shach v'yomidu. But the tail is always bent. Most of the time, always. That's okay. Ve'ima meyaznai. Maybe it means from the ear, because the animal can move its ear. It can bend its ear. So the Gemara says, Binan dama nefesh v'leka. Because we're dealing with kudshim, v'shachar ben abakar is dealing with kudshim, we know that you have to get the blood, you have to sprinkle the blood, that the dam sha nefesh yotze by. It has to be the blood that the life force comes out with. That first blood that spritzes out, that's the blood that you need. Over here it's just going to bleed, but it's not going to be the blood of the life if it cuts from the ear. Gemara says, well, will be able to learn it. Ve'ima the karav azal ad dam nefesh. That's the Bais. Maybe you cut by the ear, but you keep cutting until you hit the lifeblood. Gemara then says, V'su, this is Rashi's girsa, Taisus has a different girsa. Taisus wants to say it says Olotaimech, that it's a kasha on Rav Kahana. And Rashi learns that it's just the stomach of the Talmudah. V'su, Shia drasa chalada agrama v'ikar minalan. You're only getting one halacha, that the shechita is by the neck. Where do you know the other 5 halachas? Of that you're not allowed to pause in the middle of the shechita. That you can't chop. You can't hide the knife under the skin. You can't cut too high up on the neck or too low down. And v'ikar, we learned from Rashi and Daf Tes that you can't pull out the one of the pipes from its place. Where do you know those halachas? Ela Gemara. It's Gemara. It's a teaching that we have from it's halacha l'meishem misinai. So shechita minatzar nami Gemara. You anyways have to know all of that from halacha l'meishem misinai. So the fact that you shecht from the neck, that's a halacha l'meishem misinai as well. Okay. So ukra l'mayasa. So what are we going to do with the pasuk? B'lei l'shavi gistra. Gistra, we learned before, is a broken pot. I saw in the Steinsaltz, he says gistra, it comes from the Greek gastro, which means like the belly, which is the lower part, because I never knew this, when they would break a pot, so a gistra was something that they could still use. They used it like what we would use as an ashtray, like they would use as an ashtray. But it's just the bottom is still left, like the bowl part is still left, but all the upper part is gone. So in the Mishnayos, it's used to catch an oil drip from a pot that has a little leak. Grease. So that's the gistra. So over here, it's referring to that that 2 possibilities. One possibility in Rashi says gistra is that you don't cut through the entire neck all the way through the spine. You're not shaver mefarekes. You don't break through the spine when you're doing the shechita. That's what the pasuk is telling me. The other interpretation of Rashi is that you don't chop. Gistra would mean that you're chopping it, that you're breaking it. The problem is that we said that these halachas are halach l'meishem Sinai. The Gemara says, so what do you use the pasuk for? The pasuk is coming to tell me that you don't do drasa. Drasa is one of the 5 halachas that we just said are halach l'meishem Sinai. So Rashi says that yes, 4 of them are halach l'meishem Sinai, but one of them we have a source in the pasuk. That's the second pshat in Rashi. Rav Yemar says, that would be the mem of the siman. K'maish. Amar kra v'zavachta. Shecht mimakam shezav chateyu. The place where it flows, that's where, how do they translate chateyu? That's where you break it. Sever. My mashma. The high chateyu lishna de mitbaru. How do you know that chateyu means that it's severed or broken? Diksiv al tirav al techas. Don't be afraid and don't be dismayed. And dismayed is referring to like a broken-hearted. So al techas, don't be broken-hearted. That's where we get the word vizavachta. So again, we're taking the word vizavachta, we're dividing it in half. Zav, to flow. Chateyu, that's where you break it. Zavachta. Ve'ima mechaytmai. Maybe it means from the nose, because the nose flows from mucus. So you should cut it by the nose. So zaval yedechita and we're talking about that it flows because of the breaking, not because it just regularly flows. V'hai zaf me'elafu, but this flows on its own. Ve'ima milibai. Maybe it's supposed to, you have to stab it in the heart. Over there it's going to flow. V'su, and also Shia drasa chalada agrama v'ika minolam. What about the other 5 halachas? Not to pause, not to chop, not to hide the knife, not to cut too high, and not to pull out one of the veins, one of the pipes. Ela Gemara. Must be it's halacha l'meishem Sinai. And shechita menatzav nami Gemara. Therefore, we don't need the pasuk. It's halacha l'meishem Sinai. It's a tradition. This is how we do it. This is how it was taught to us from Moshe. Gemara says, "Ukra l'mayasas." What are you going to do with the pasuk? B'lei l'shavi gistra. That you don't one of those pshatim. Either you don't chop all the way through the spine, or you don't press.
So why would one both people you learned the same thing from the other?
Now that's interesting. That's an interesting point.
Why do you need the double psukim?
Uh-huh.
Then we have a third one. It's also giving you a third pasuk, the Gistra.
That's a good point. I don't know.
Usually the Gemara asks.
Usually the Gemara asks, why didn't he use that?
One
I don't know. The Bei Rabbi Yishmael Tana was taught in the yeshiva of Rabbi Yishmael. This is the shin of the siman. Yeah. B'shachat. Al tikri b'shachat, ela b'sachat. It's not v'shachat, it's v'sachat. What is v'sachat? It says, mimakam shasach chateyo. From the place where it speaks. That's where you cut. And the sound comes from the throat, from the voice box. Ve'ema mil shainai. Maybe you cut from the tongue. It's bin and dama nefesh v'leka. We tried this once before in the first opinion, by cutting the ear. It's bin and dama nefesh. That's not the dama nefesh. Ve'ema the kara vazal dama nefesh. The same answer that we gave before. Maybe it means you start at the tongue, but you keep cutting until you hit the dama nefesh. V'sushi adrasa chalada agrama vikaminalan. And also, what about those other 5 halachas that we have by Hilcha Shchita? So Ela Gemara, those we know are halacha l'maisha misinai. Shchita menatzaver nami Gemara. The shechting from the neck is also halacha l'maisha misinai. So ukra l'mayasa. So what are we going to do with the pasuk? Leila shavi gistra. You're right. Now we have 3 times that it tells me Leila shavi gistra. See, if we only had 2, I would tell you that each one is telling me 1 pshat in Rashi. Because I have 2 pshatim in Rashi, but it means Leila shavi gistra. But now we have a 3rd one. So, okay. Vitana maisila mehacha. There's a Tana that brings it from the following. So far, these were Amiraim, and they brought it from these psukim. But the Tana, which Rashi says is the Tana in Teres Kayanim, he brings it from the following. The Tanya Reb Chia Amar. Reb Chia says, Chia was in the middle. Minayin l'shchita minatzavar. How do you know that shchita is from the neck? Shenemar va'orchu b'nei Aaron HaKayanim esanasachim. Do you have the full pasuk in here? Let me just take a look. Yeah, it says this is Vayikra Aleph Pasuk Ches. It says that the sons of Aaron will arrange the cut-up pieces. Then it says the head and the fats on the wood. They'll arrange it on the fire, on the wood on the fire, which is on the mizbeach. Before this pasuk, it says that you will skin the oila and you will cut it up into pieces. And then it says you'll arrange the pieces, and it says the head and the fats. So it's cut into pieces, and he's going to arrange the pieces. It doesn't need to say the head and the fats. We're cutting it into pieces. Why do you have to specify that there's also these 2 pieces, the head and the fats? What's it coming to tell me? They were included in all the cut up pieces. The head was one of the pieces. They cut the legs, they cut the different parts of the animal body, so they also cut the head. Lama yatsu, why was it taken out to be specified? Because the pasuk says that you will skin the oila and you will cut it up into pieces. I would only cut up the pieces that are skinned. The head is not skinned. The body is skinned. The head is left with the skin on. How do you know the head that was already cut off? Talmud Laimar es reishay ves pidrei va'arach. He quotes a different pasuk. The Gemara is going to ask. You just quoted a different pasuk. We were asking es reish ves apada. You quoted me the pasuk es reishay ves pidrei. That's a different pasuk. So, but it says the head and the fats. Now, mida kamer es reish kvar hutaz mechlal d'shchita min atzaver. From the fact that it says that the head that was cut off, must be that the head was cut off. Where was the head cut off? By the shchita. Okay, that tells me that the shchita was by the neck.
from the ear.
Uh-huh. Could be from the tongue.
Could be after they did the shechita, they cut that.
Rashi says that because the simanim were cut, it's considered hutaz because the life went down. So, I don't know.
That's just ask that question. Small one at the bottom.
Midakamar? Oh, it's only excluding the nose. Uh-huh.